to him in warm-ups. This kid is a leaper.
All right, here we go. NFL training camp underway. Arizona Cardinals air raid offense. Kyler Murray to Larry Fitzgerald for the one-handed catch while falling out of bounds.
Your guy, see?
Yeah, I hate to rip him apart. Kyler got to stop patting the ball. You see, he starts off to his left. He didn't like the guy over there. Then he comes back to the right, throws one to Fitzgerald. The DB missed it. The ball's behind him. DB should have intercepted that. Larry makes a spectacular catch.
That's the part we should focus on. Fitzy. And what is this, year 34?
Man, my bosses tell me, Chris, what do you see? Okay. That's what I see.
Here we go. Cleveland Browns, OBJ, a spectacular catch on the sideline.
Made a bunch of these yesterday. We were seeing these videos tweeted out by people at practice by the Browns. He gets both feet and a knee in bounds.
Happy to be playing
Precise
football.
Route running.
Building that chemistry. Exciting things happening in Cleveland. You could see in some of the interviews they were doing yesterday, him and Jarvis Landry, build on what they've been doing since they were kids. Freddie Kitchens.
It's exciting, man.
Excitement is building for the start of football in Green Bay this season. Aaron Rodgers is healthy and motivated. Packers have a new head coach in Matt LaFleur. And after 2 days of training camp, there is seemingly no tension yet between the two. Aaron says, why should there be? The relationship is growing and the two are friends. However, he says adjusting to a new coach will take some time.
A lot of times when you have a coaching change, you have to go through the struggles of, you know, learning and starting over almost. But I think what Brian has done with our roster and the guys that we have coming back, I think, you know, we have a chance to compete. And again, we're in a good spot, too, because nobody's talking about us. You know, some of the most dangerous teams, I thought, from our years are when everybody's talking about every other team out there except for us. And we can kind of come at our own pace and you know, surprise some people in the beginning.
All right, Chris, when you look at what the Packers have, when you look at the coach and you look at the quarterback and then you see how they're going to fill in all the pieces, what do you think the biggest key to success for both the quarterback and the coach will be this season?
Well, first, to address Aaron, what he's saying, the reason why people aren't talking about them the way they are some other teams is because he's been hurt. And with him being hurt, they are not a playoff team. They are an afterthought in the NFL under the previous regime because they didn't have a defense that was capable of stopping a nosebleed, and they didn't have an offense that was capable of doing anything without Aaron Rodgers playing spectacular. So, Aaron, you got to take some of that blame yourself, being nicked up the last 2 seasons. That's the reason why. Now, the excitement should be they've changed their defensive personnel. They've changed from a 43 to a 34. You can believe they're going to be more physical. They're going to get after the quarterback. They got tremendous amount of draft capital invest in their secondary, which I believe is going to surprise some people. So it's a different Green Bay team. They're going to play a different style. They're going to be a little more rugged. So they can win games, not just Aaron Rodgers making comebacks, throwing Hail Marys late in games. They have a variance. They have other pitches they can throw. And I believe from an offensive standpoint, they're going to try to get some type of running game to support Aaron Rodgers, which they've never done on a consistent basis. So those are the things I'll be looking at when I'm watching the Packers, when they surprise some people, because that defense should be a lot better than it has been, and it will be a lot more physical, the overall attitude that they're putting out there. I believe that's what people will see.
We've talked throughout the offseason that for the Packers to get back to where a lot of people think they should be every year, which is Super Bowl contender, they are going to have a much better defense than they've had the last few years. But to Chris's point, they are not in the game without Aaron Rodgers being great. And the last year Aaron Rodgers was great was 2016. He individually has not had, by his standards or really by today's quarterbacking standards, a great season since 2016. Not coincidentally, that's the last year he was healthy. In 2017, they were 4-1 going into that Minnesota game. And on the first offensive drive of the game, Anthony Barr falls on him, pops his collarbone, and that season is over. It was a wrap from that moment forward. Last year, and this was underrated during the season, he suffered a knee injury in the first game of the year against Chicago.
I thought he was done for the season when he got injured.
It looked like he thought he was done for at least a couple months when he was going off the field, so just despondent and upset. Now, he came back.
They win the game.
Channeled greatness. They win the game against Chicago, and I think that made people think, oh, he must be fine. We saw in his play over the next couple months, he wasn't fine. He couldn't roll to one direction. I don't remember which, but it was part of his greatness has been his ability to roll out of the pocket and make plays on the run. That was totally removed from his game. He all of a sudden threw the ball away more than any quarterback in football because he was not able to escape, and they had a bad season. So the first key is Aaron Rodgers staying healthy. Like that gets them in the game. Now, to win the game is the defense, is them having a better running game. And it's really interesting. This year, see, you've talked about it for, I feel like, 8 months. It's the NFL's 100th season. They are starting their 100th season with not the Super Bowl champs, but the oldest rivalry. Green Bay against who? Chicago, the team they started with last year where Aaron got hurt. This will be on Thursday Night Football. Like, it's an opportunity to start fresh, new head coach, new everything. But his ability to play not just all 16, but a healthy 16 is the most important part for their season. Because the last 2 years, it has not happened, and that's why they've been out of the playoffs the last 2 years.
So if he's healthy and they've shored up this team as best they can before the season starts, then the big question that the media is going to be hounding everybody on is the relationship between Aaron Rodgers and obviously Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur came out yesterday and said the last thing we ever want to do is send a quarterback out there who is uncomfortable with what they're doing. Is that LaFleur maybe deferring a little bit to Aaron Rodgers, saying, okay, we had a lot of offseason stuff, but when it actually gets started, I know you know what you're doing. Is that a sort of respect move on his part? Because how important is that relationship going to be to their success? Well,
I think Matt LaFleur has enough confidence in himself, and the reason why the front office hired him, because they thought he can handle Aaron Rodgers. He's talking about just like he would talk to any other quarterback. Even if he had a rookie quarterback, he would be telling us it is not in our best interest to send a quarterback out there with things he's not comfortable with. That's his job, to get the quarterback comfortable with the things that they like. Not the things that just he likes, not the things the coordinator likes, but a combination, a collaboration. That's the best offenses in the league. The quarterback, their personnel being considered, and the coaches coming up with the plan, and I believe that Matt will do that. A little side note, Aaron said in there, Matt and I are friends. I played a long time in the league. I wasn't friends with none of the coaches. Now, my teammates in Minnesota used to tease me and say that I was Denny Ryan's son. Denny Green's son. And in Buddy Ryan, we had in Philadelphia, there was a group of guys that they were Buddy's guys. And I was one of those guys. But you see, he cut me. So you can still, as one of the guys, you can still get cut. So, but I've never been friends. None of the coaches. I'm talking about even guys who I had played with. Once they went over to coaches, I wasn't friends with them. It's just an interesting choice of words. Aaron said, me and Matt are friends.
I think it's more than interesting. And I think, I'm glad it keyed you, because it keyed me as well. To me, it is in a beneficial position to be able to say, I'm friends with my boss. It's, to me, a bit of a power move in a way that, like, hey, we're going to talk to each other, not like boss subordinate, but like friends. And how do friends talk? They don't take orders. They discuss things. And so I think Aaron, while I'm not trying to read too much into it, I found it interesting as well that Aaron's saying, listen, Matt and I are friends. And so we'll be able to go through these types of things. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but I also think when it's a rookie head coach and a young head coach and you're Aaron bleeping Rodgers, it is we're buddies. And so, yeah, like buddies, because your concern with the Packers is LaFleur is a system he knows. That is a system very different from what Aaron's used to doing pre-snap, used to doing throughout his career.
Aaron seems to have control. He wants control at the line, and that sort of parts ways.
And he probably should have a lot of control of the line. But when you phrase it as, hey, this is my friend, we'll discuss it, it might remove some of the agency from the head coach in that regard.
I used to have a wide receiver coach, and I used to run a route a certain way. And then the guy behind me with no experience, young guy, he tried to run the route the same way. Coach went up and corrected him, said, don't run it that way. He said, well, I was watching Chris. And that's what he said, Chris can do that. He can do it in pressure. He can do it on the road. He can do it clockwork. He said, you won't be able to do that against bump and run. You won't be able to break that angle like that. And the reason why the coach let me do it that way compared to everyone else was I was the only one who could do that. And when you get someone like Aaron Rodgers, you have a certain set of rules, principalities. These are the things we're set on. And then you see a guy do something. That's a coach's job. The kid's job is to get the coach's attention, do something he's never seen. Then it's the coach's job to get that player back in that same situation to repeat that.
Harness.
And that's what they will do. They will collaborate on this. It doesn't make sense to have someone like Aaron Rodgers and think you can call a better play in your headset on the sideline than Aaron Rodgers with all the experience. He should have the same latitudes the best players in this game have to be able to change the play and get into an instant compared to going on the sideline, looking at the computers and everything and making adjustments.
All right, we'll have to see how this one plays out. So let's take a break. Head to another team after this. Coming up, are the Steelers making a mistake committing to Mike Tomlin long-term? Not committing to him long-term. That's next on First Things First.